have a little,
Went off the deep
tantrum.
end.
He's just like, goddamn rebels thinking they're hot shit stealing plans. And he's like, oh wait, I need to actually find these.
Do you think that with all the talk, like with Kylo Ren being so obsessed about Darth Vader and the ideas of legacy and like and where you come from when you're not part of a legacy and all that kind of stuff they've been setting up in the new trilogy, do you think that there's any chance at all that we'll see like Force Ghost Anakin or something like that? Because he's Darth Vader's still been a pretty important figure in the new trilogy, but we just haven't like every Luke Yoda came back and like it just there's
Yoda can summon lightning in his ghostly form now.
well he's a part of the Force. That makes sense to me. Like he's just
He can do it.
yeah, he's
It's like they're just.
he's one with the Force.
What next are they going to start adding to the plethora of things that Jedi can do that weren't already put in their lore before?
Yeah.
It's like, they can do everything. They can control
more.
other people's like droids.
Because of what Luke did in Last Jedi.
Yep.
Some people are now retroactively going back and being like, oh well, Obi-Wan wasn't there at all. If you look, you don't see him leaving footprints in the sand. He's just a projection on Tatooine that projection follows them all the way through until the Death Star, where he chooses to go down like Luke does on.
I'm pretty sure though there was a book about Jedi, like one of those. You know what I'm talking about? I think it was a book and it was like the Book of the Jedi or whatever, and it had a bunch of the stuff that Jedi could do and how they would do whatever. But projection is one of them.
Yeah, I totally accept that idea, but people are like going back and saying in A New Hope that
like
Obi-Wan,
retroactive.
as an old man that entire time, is just a projection, and the real Obi-Wan is somewhere else completely, and the entire Obi-Wan character we see in A New Hope is just another Force projection, and like that's bullshit.
I already came up with like the lore in my head, like when he tells Vader, like if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. He was basically taking in his old Padawan's energy of his hate and like transformed it into himself to make himself like the bigger person in the situation. So he like transcended that. He transcended being like mortal and just like became part of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole material form disintegrated or became the Force when he struck him down. That could be another interpretation of that scene.
Yeah, I always saw that line as being like this fight between the dark side and the good side, like you may strike down me, this person representing the light side right now, but we're going to come back stronger than ever because you weren't the chosen one. I might have found the chosen one. Turns out to be your son. He's going to come back and avenge me and right the situation. So he was more like, I might be going down right now, but this fight is not done, and the next person to take up this fight is going to kick your fucking ass, and the dark side's going down.
And another thing to go towards, in the prequels, the Jedi in those weren't necessarily true Jedi, because, I mean, Mace Windu says it himself, like, we're keepers of peace, we're not soldiers. They turn into soldiers by the end of Revenge of the Sith anyway, and they get axed for it. So the real Jedi in those prequels was Qui-Gon Jinn the whole time. He went against all the council's like stuff, like, all right, we're gonna become warriors now, and we're gonna be badasses. And he was the one that's like, I don't want any part of that shit. I'm just gonna focus on the living Force himself.
The real Jedi was Yaddle, the one Jedi we never saw take up a lightsaber at all. She was very peaceful and maintained a personality that aligns with the Jedi beliefs. There's also Penis Head. He was very peaceful. Master on the... I forget his name. What's his name?
Which one?
Penis Head.
Oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Ki-Adi-Mundi. I know that name, but it was just... Yeah, like...
He was a general. I mean, they all got ranks in, like, military status. Qui-Gon wouldn't have any part
They're
of
all
that
killed
shit.
in the field.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't care anymore. Like, the light side versus the dark side, I don't care. Because they were doing something that was approaching interesting in The Last Jedi, where they're like, screw all that, let's just say screw it. But then he immediately was like, no, now join me because I'm bad and we're going to kill everybody. It was like, oh, there it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's been 30 years since the original trilogy. There are still some characters who, like, Billy D. Williams, he's going to, like, I'm not going to buy him as Lando because he's such an old man now. Like, when he goes and does press interviews, his son is usually with him because he has a very hard time speaking his thoughts now. And I'm just like,
That's sad.
yeah.
They're just gonna put him in it to kill him.
And like,
They're
yeah,
just
and
gonna kill him.
Leia was back, and now she's dead, and I don't know how she might be memorialized or represented in the next movie. And
It's
just
gonna
like
be a time jump, and she's gonna be dead. And they're
Nien Nub, okay, the character who co-piloted the Millennium Falcon in Jedi, was also in I think Force Awakens, wasn't it?
There was a creature like him. Yeah.
30. So Nien Nub in Force Awakens must have had some thought of like, damn, we were doing the same shit 30 years ago. I'm fucking tired of fighting. Like, when is this fight gonna end? Like, I kind of don't care.
Well,
Exactly.
I feel like in the next one that's going to be Chewie, because at this point he's lost probably everybody. They're probably going to phone it in about how Leia's no longer there, or just have her in the gallery, and then like the Grand Moff
Yeah. Peter Cushing.
Like
yeah,
Tarkin.
yeah. Where he was like just pure CGI. They'd probably do the same thing for her, but
Who knows?
very, very
No, they're
scant.
not gonna CG Leia.
No.
They said that.
Yeah.
Oh, specifically?
Yeah,
Fair enough.
they find that
That's just-
disrespectful.
Yeah, more out of respect for
For that.
her than anything.
On that, because I mean, that is respectful in that regard, probably.
But they'll probably do a time jump where they just start the movie with the title crawl. Leia has died.
yeah.
General Leia
Leia's
Organa.
dead!
Yeah, General Leia Organa is dead, and she's not coming
Or at
back.
the very end, by the way, Leia's dead.
Or
No.
they'll probably, you know what? I'll bet they'll probably do like some back silhouette of somebody with the same buns, just so they can get around the not just CGI there.
Yeah, because
like some underground bunker somewhere getting blown up. Like the rebels are getting hunted down even further, even though they somehow like have now reinforcements, even though like all of their shit got blown up by the super giga Tengu Toppin Death Star.
yeah, like
I mean,
It's-
come on, it's a whole fucking planet.
it's
like,
only weird that like
I know
Leia.
it's dead.
I would have taken
It's a
Sun Crusher
fucking-
over Star Killer Base. I actually like the Sun Crusher.
That was cool.
Suncrusher.
That was really cool.
Which one? Oh,
Sun Crusher from the Jedi Academy trilogy.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Shoots a torpedo into a system's sun and makes it go supernova, destroying the entire system. Instead of a fucking hyperspace laser that splits into 5 pieces, because that doesn't make fucking sense.
battle, dude.
Beam battle?
One-sided beam battle.
Yeah.
They must have a lot of big.
The Dark Saber was cooler than Star Killer
To be
Base.
fair,
Yeah,
most of the space
it
battles
was
in
really,
Star Wars
really,
makes
it
no
didn't make
sense.
sense because it was
No,
like
that's true.
one giant tube stake of a fucking energy pillar that goes out, and then it's like, oh wait, but actually it was curved. And it actually curves
Curving
like
lasers, dude.
millions of miles to hit multiple planets, and a single system is where they have all their shit. Really,
Yeah, it's just
really.
The explanation for that was that in the New Republic, in Disney's New Republic, the New Republic capital changes every turn. So that wasn't Coruscant that got blown up. That was
it was some
generic
Is that-
planet
they
number
actually have-
1.
Coruscant in the book, like.
Coruscant started as the Imperial City, and then
Right.
fan fiction started calling it Coruscant. Lucas liked it. He liked the name, so he kept it.
Right, but I mean, like, I didn't know that in like before the squish of extended universe. I didn't know that was where the New Republic was. I thought it was somewhere else. I thought it was like the Yavin system or something like that.
That's a
old
Jedi
canon
temple.
New Republic?
The old canon.
They
New
were all
Republic
over the
capital.
place
Yeah, they
before
were.
they took Coruscant back.
Yep.
It's, what was it? Right at the end of Thrawn, I think.
they
End of Thrawn, beginning of Jedi Academy.
yeah they like got
Um,
Coruscant back, but then there were still like spies and people implanted, and they had to like they
That's what
physically
happened
got
with,
the planet back, but they
what's
didn't
his
have
name?
all the power.
Akbar had his shuttle sabotaged on his way to
Yeah,
the Cathedral
God, that
of
was
Winds.
such a good book series.
It
dude.
was, and everyone shits on it. I don't know why.
I don't.
They're like,
remember
it's not as good as Thrawn. It's
what book
nothing's.
series
It's still-
it was where they had like this alien.
That's what
race
should have been the
that-
sequel trilogy, in my opinion.
The fucking.
It wasn't the Yezin Vaughn.
Oh, okay.
It was. They
Killick
were from like
crisis.
some cluster.
Those are the Killicks.
The Killicks, yes, because they were
They were like
they
arthropods.
they really they had a really cool kind of like political espionage kind of subterfuge sort of plot to it, because they were basically playing the Republic members against Leia, making her like into like this despot that's like really against them.
They're like
Yeah,
gaslighting
no,
her.
yeah.
Which
they had
is-
this they had this spin doctor propaganda sort of theme as a race,
Yep.
and it sounded super cool. When I only had the one book in that series, but it was
Killer Crisis was crazy.
yeah, it sounded
When you-
awesome.
Darksaber was pretty cool too.
Which, when
'Cause
you
they
think
were-
about it, is like
Because they had multiple branching paths too. Who was the reverse Geordie LaForge looking guy?
Lobot.
Lobot.
Yeah, he was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Boy,
because they
yeah,
were out looking for some. What's the
I
shit?
don't remember.
I don't know what they were looking at, but it was like some like crazy, like super intensely powerful ship that would like shrug off like fleets, and it'd like blast one ship and then just peace out.
One of the few Disney era Star Wars things I liked was they did a Lando miniseries at Marvel, and Lobot was the shit. That series was tight as fuck.
the
Yeah. I just always I know and now remember that as Lobot, but I always remembered him as reverse Lord Geordie LaForge. Just it's on the back.
Lordy LaGeorge.
Lordy LaGeorge.
couple things about the Leia
George.
thing.
Lordy
Like,
LaGeorge.
Then anybody trying to come at her with a smear campaign or anything should just realize that that's not going to work, because the number of times that Leia has been cast in like a light of she's not doing what you think she's doing, or like she's acting against the Republic, the number of times that gets done and the number of times she exonerates herself, it should just be like, oh no, we know that you got good intentions, you're good, these people are just crazy. And like with the movies, it's just weird that they could have done something at the end of the movie where, like, for a long time in Last Jedi, she's in like recovery from what happens, and then she wakes up, and at the very end she's like up and about. If they would have just kept her in recovery, like kept her unconscious, they could have made it like, and she died because of complications or something like that. But now we know that she was alive,
to
so
live.
They were expecting her to be back.
yeah,
you
but
underestimate my sadness.
they had no way to expect that. But now what do? Because if you start the movie with like the title crawl talking about her dying, and then the first scene of the movie is like her funeral that gets attacked or something like that, like, or there's a memorial, or like, are they going to show her in silhouette? It's just, there's so
They
many.
just shunt her out to a fucking
She married Poppins away.
far.
They
far
probably-
side of the
they're probably
galaxy.
gonna go
They
back
only
to Naboo.
communicate with her
I feel
through-
like just
For safety,
announcing
because
her-
she's like the last like
yeah,
figure
and they
or
only
something.
Communicate with her through like
I-
messages.
I
through
feel
text
like that
messages.
would be too much of a phone in if they just like, made the first notice of her death being in the title scroll.
yeah.
Just because it's like, okay, she's
To be
one
fair.
of the last like main characters that's been in through the whole series. If you're gonna do it, which realistically they have to, do it in a way like, maybe early on in the movie. Sure, certainly. It's a pivotal emotional point.
Mhm.
It's
To be
like,
fair, they were probably going to kill her in this movie anyway. Since
Yeah.
they
oh yeah,
killed Han in the first one, killed
Killed
Luke
Leia.
in this one.
Yep.
They're probably going to kill Leia in the last
Do
one.
you-
Luke killed himself.
There have been recent.
What if Luke was dead the whole time and he was just in a projection the whole movie?
He'll be back.
well,
Yeah,
back
there's
to
been some rumors of him shaving his beard recently, and people thinking that he's gonna come back as a Force ghost with no beard, just as like classic Luke
Yeah.
presenting himself to somebody.
Call him
Are they
Luke.
gonna do anything more with that planet that
Probably
he was
not.
on?
Probably not.
Because I mean, I
Especially
know
since
that
it's
they were
not
talking
Ryan
about-
Johnson again.
Well,
Since
they were
brought
talking.
JJ back.
I mean, they were
How
talking
is
though
JJ
about
going
it.
to close the story? Is he just,
After everything he set up for Mystery Box got completely
is he
nullified
just
by
going to
Ryan
do another
Johnson.
mystery box to set up the next trilogy?
Yeah, or he's just like, well, this stuff's back now, and because
Well,
he could.
Snoke's back.
Yeah, well,
There was-
Snoke could not be dead. That's a
There's
possibility.
just too much,
Doubt it.
too much going on for a trilogy. Because there's too many
Then
threads.
Ryan Johnson's got his own trilogy coming up after.
But
I
that's the
hope
thing. It's like,
they take that away.
do they officially have it? They do.
That's
Yes.
officially
A trilogy
I mean,
after this trilogy
He has
ends.
he has
But it's
treatments
not,
for
It's
him.
not necessarily like the
The
Skywalker,
numbered.
the next
Yeah, it's like-
numbered trilogy. It's its own.
It's a new saga. It's not the Skywalker saga.
In a weird way,
It's not true.
I'm really sad that they didn't go with that. What's the name again?
Jedi Academy.
No,
The Killick.
Killick?
Oh,
The
Killick.
Killicks. The Killicks one, because I feel like
It would have been a nice, instead of just all-out war, it's all
it's
subterfuge and spy
it gives a very political one. I think at one point they actually convinced the New Republic that Leia was responsible for the genocide that they were doing.
Nice.
They spin doctor hard in
Yep.
that book. Like they are masters of manipulating because they have like the whole like their situation like is occurring inside of a cluster that they don't let the New Republic in, but then they start like doing this smear campaign against her, and they do it so well too. Like the writing of it is really
was the Jedi Academy trilogy. I thought that would be like the perfect spot for the story to pick up.
You wanting something Jedi Academy related? I don't believe you.
No, not the Dark Forces. I'm talking the
I know.
books.
What if it has Jedi and Academy in it?
Right. But I mean, I don't know. I just felt like it was like the perfect starting off or pickup point for a sequel trilogy. Like
100%.
the heroes have won. They've just taken back Coruscant. The New Republic is branching
at least
out,
the
bringing everyone
framework of
in.
it.
I really-
At least the framework. You didn't need to
Leia's
tell
a
the
high-level
story.
dignitary. Mon
beat for
Mothma's
beat,
head of
but-
state. Han and Chewie are chafing under the new responsibilities
Mhm.
But
as dignitaries,
I think
and they're just
probably-
like, I wish we were still
Chewie's
smuggling."
married with kids.
That movie would have had
Han's
to.
married
That
with
movie
kids,
would have
Han's
had
got
to have
3
happened
kids.
like what
The
10, 15 years
Imperial
ago.
Remnant trying to take baby Anakin from some
Make it
nursery world.
feasible,
All of that
I guess, because
that
they
would-
are too old, maybe,
Yeah,
in those
they
books.
would-
That's what I was gonna say. That's
Well, if
why it made sense.
they would have
probably-
to film that during the prequel filming.
I really would have liked to have some time of like maybe just a Luke Solo movie of him being like, all right, I just went through a personal journey, but now I guess I have a lot of responsibility. It's time to try teaching some people, and like his
shit
difficulties with like trying to become a teacher now, and like
The
trying to.
shit that pisses me off is like there's two things with Luke that I always like story beats that I want to see fleshed out. It's that after the trilogy, and then between Empire and Return, and it's like they always when they go for like with comics or like books and stuff, or mainly comics because that's what I've read the most of. When they want to flesh out something, that they always go between between A New Hope and Empire, and I'm like, why? So many of you have done this.
He does like
Like,
nothing.
I want. There's so much time and development of Luke between Empire and Return.
I'll tell you why. No one's ever going to top Shadows of the Empire.
That's true.
Dash Rendar.
That's true, my boy Dash.
Speaking of Dash
Dash.
Rendar, I watched a Solo fan film that was actually pretty damn good, and it had Dash Rendar in it, but he didn't have any lines or anything. He was just in the same fucking bar as Han was
So
getting
he
his
didn't
ass
have
kicked.
his droid with him or anything like that?
His droid was on the ship, supposedly, but I mean, it was a Han Solo movie, and Yep. it was old EU, too.
But you were
So-
talking
His
about
Outrider?
subterfuge and shit like that.
But it was fun.
I
I
think
dug it.
YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. The only thing I didn't like about it is that it repeats, like, the opening Han Solo scene, like, 3 times every half hour.
that's annoying.
So it's like Han Solo introduction, and then, the rest of the movie for 30 minutes, and then it repeats the opening scene again, and then once that scene's over, it's more of
That's
the
jarring.
story.
That's weird.
I don't know why they did it that way.
It's
Well,
it's
I mean,
probably
it's
a
a
weird edit.
branching kind of thing, like they're trying to do concurrent. Like this is all happening at the same time.
Like if decisions are slightly different.
Yeah, like a what if.
Oh, it's like
it's
a-
the exact same scene repeated.
Like Run Lola Run.
So I think it was just an editing fuck up, or maybe they're
that sounds like an edit.
avoiding YouTube algorithms
Probably.
or something.
Probably.
You're
but-
saying
Yeah.
Those are-
We're talking about the subterfuge and whatever type story angles. I think that might be a thing that, or at least similar type stories, will be covered in Jon Favreau's TV show he's doing for Netflix streaming
More
or for
of a
Disney streaming.
political espionage
Well,
style.
I think it's called like Underworld or some shit. So it's not gonna be like.
Whoa.
So it's gonna be all.
If they
that
did
type of-
1313.
I know, right?
That'd be badass.
But it's something. I think it's Underworld. I could be completely wrong here.
You know
But-
what?
John
Underworld
Favreau
was
should
on
get
that list
Amy
of
Hennig
canceled
as a writer.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I'd love to see?
but I think it's something like that.
Let's get a movie that has no human characters in it. Maybe humanoid people, but very few of them. And it's just about a creature, a random ass creature in the Star Wars universe that exists on some planet, and it's like a kid friendly movie. And then at the very end, we get like
The Ewoks?
an,
I was gonna say.
I was gonna say
Some-
Womp Rats.
something to tie us
Like,
into
Luke
like
will
the
be
greater
villain, and
mythology.
it's like
But it's
teenage
just
Luke.
a story that has no effect on anything with the fucking war, because even Han Solo had to be like, sure, you'll change your mind about that someday. Just like,
Mhm.
No,
Hinting.
don't stop it.
Stop
it.
referencing
we know
what
that
we
those
know.
movies exist.
Yeah.
You
I got
don't
one
have
for
to.
you, Wilson.
That's why we're watching this.
It's a movie about a womp rat the one womp rat that escapes Luke and his friends.
Yeah, like that. It's a baby womp rat. He sees all of his other womp rats get dead-eyed by a T-16, and he's like, "Oh shit, this is bad." And he has to scamper back to his little burrow.
I feel like they would need then to figure out a way because I mean I'm assuming that even in like what was that weird movie where like some lady some like mute woman was working in that place where they had the like Abe Sapien looking kind of guy, the
Shape of Water?
Shape of Water. Yes, Shape of Water. Like they need to have some sort of human element in there for people to relate to it somehow, I feel. So like while, you know, humanoid obviously, you know, that would be necessary, I feel like, you know, if they don't have it grounded some way, people aren't gonna really believe it. Like if everybody's in costumes, you know. or
No,
CGI.
not even costumes. Just like practical CGI shit. Like this, more of a kids movie where it's like we don't need human characters. They can all be animals. And they can talk and they can talk because of the Force. I don't give a shit. Like,
I mean,
What if they talked about setting up the Jedi Order, like going way back in time when like it deviated to like light side or dark side?
no.
So we had
I don't want that.
We had two people we're following, and they weren't humanoid. They were some other creature that were really in tune with the Force.
isn't they kind of
And then they deviate. One goes light, one goes dark, and they just follow their paths, setting up their own.
Because there'd
schools.
be too much stupid.
Father, son, daughter.
Those
Yeah.
are aspects of the Force.
There'd
Yeah,
be
but they
physical
were
manifestations.
there'd be too much
they were asked.
stupid naming conventions and like foreshadowing for things way down the line, and it would be like, stop it, stop,
Still can't.
put your
They
own
were,
dick down, just stop
This
stroking
close to
it.
getting
Like,
Revan canonized in that series or in that arc.
or what if there's like
The son.
there's a race
deleted scene where the son goes to commune with ancient Sith lords, and he meets with Bane and Darth Revan.
Yeah.
It's like, what if there's a species of space spectral manta rays that are like, that's where the Jedi get the idea of something from, or like they study these animals and they're like, hey, they travel in packs, they look out for other people, this is a Jedi, like,
It'd be
It's
awesome.
buttholes.
I just don't see it ever realistically happening. Like, I mean, you'd have to be the best.
There's been so many
salesperson
things to flush that shit out
ever
to at this point.
to actually sell that to a student.
Yeah, the elevator pitch of that, it just makes you sound like a lunatic.
Yeah. Like that's,
Yeah,
If you pitched it in the elevator, they'd be like,
no human
"Is that a Star Wars movie?"
I mean, it's a hard sell.
but that just because we've had things happening in one way doesn't mean that it should continue to happen that way. Like, we kind of, I think, need something out of what the norm of a Star Wars movie has been to just shock the system and be like, all right, here's a Star Wars movie that's not the typical Star Wars movie. Like they did with, I hate making this comparison, but like Deadpool was kind of a shakeup for comic book movies. Or they've had so many different things that are of a genre, but they're not one of those typical genre movies. And it's just like a fresh little thing for the system.
I'm waiting for Guillermo del Toro's Reverse Independence Day when they invade through the rifts to fight kaiju
Pacific
on
Rim?
their own terms. Oh yeah,
Yeah, you said Independence Day.
I know. Like instead of the aliens invading, they invade the aliens.
Yeah.
So
it's reverse
Reverse Independence Day.
I understand that, but that's the same. You could have just said Pacific Rim 1 because that's the same scenario.
No,
They invade
no.
us and then we invade them.
No, we never. In Pacific Rim, we never went back to fight them.
We
It was
went
always
into the
the
rift,
defensive
but we didn't
war.
cross over.
The
And
rifts always came.
That's what I'm
The only
saying.
reason they
No,
went
but
into
he
the
went
rift
he
at
went
the
into
end.
the rift at the end, but he
Right
did
at the end,
never
but that was
went
just
through.
a drop off.
That's yeah. I understand. But we're saying the same thing. I think. Just
Yeah, just different ways.
You take 'em off.
Correction.
Say goodbye to Sean, everybody.
Bye, Sean.
But
Correction on the Favreau thing. We have no idea what it's really about. It's just set 3 years after Return of the Jedi.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I
Same
just
with, the new animated series.
I don't know why they
Netflix,
wouldn't
the
have
last
jumped the
two.
gun on that Star Wars
Resistance.
show a lot sooner.
they should have.
They definitely
show?
should have just jumped on a Star Wars show, like after the first saga. Like they should have just started
They've had-
something.
they've had
On
some,
TV.
like,
They've had a TV show.
Live action
Oh,
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
But they had been mulling over ones for a long time.
But
Never
it probably
had
would have
stuff.
been like
That then Disney was just like, oh, hold on, we're doing this thing. We're gonna hold on to this until
Where is this going to be like airing?
the Disney
Probably.
streaming service.
yeah. It just would have probably
Exclusively?
been like
Where that series, the new Dave Filoni animated Star Wars series, Resistance, which is the guy who made the Clone Wars and Rebels.
That's got promise then, because I
yeah.
mean that's a good pedigree.
And then there's more things in development. There was even a rumor for a little bit that they were thinking of, which has since been like, nah, dude. But Coodwork was doing like their spin-off movies as direct to their streaming service type of situation, or make them into TV like mini series.
I understand what Tyler's saying though, because I think it would have been could have been a good idea at some point, like right after or right before Force Awakens came out, starting like an ABC television live action series to get people more used to having Star Wars around all the time, so that way when they start making all these different movies, they're not so inundated and they don't feel like there's like that fatigue so quickly. They're more used to it being like
they were doing
it's
the
around
reverse,
all the
they were
time
doing
now.
the reverse route, where it was, instead of here's a bunch of shit and then to get you used to this, it's just like, here we're just gonna start you here and then we're gonna start filling it out in reverse.
They end up doing a teen TV drama series of
Probably.
Luke's earlier days on
Probably,
Tatooine.
maybe not that, but they'll probably definitely do like a teen-aimed series.
Well,
Very-
and if
very
Well, I mean,
angst
aside
filled.
from because the animated series
But see,
aren't really
here's the trip.
friendly.
The angst is manifested in the Force, like that.
The angst. I can feel it.
there's
Coming out of
I
my
can smell it.
anus.
I can definitely see going down that path though. Like if they're successful with Star Wars,
I hope
like they want to be for
like that
another
type.
5 years ish. At some point there will be like, because they had that they've done now like the Disney's like the young versions of the villains going to school, and then there's the Marvel like
Descendants or whatever.
there's the
Yeah, that's
Marvel
so
where they're
weird.
like teen versions all going to the same campus with the villains and everything, and it's like they're all teen versions of the MCU characters. Like I
Oh
could
my God.
totally see them doing that for like the Star Wars canon, where like Darth Vader's just like somebody of an authority figure, and the Emperor is too, and all the other characters are just like younger versions, because they do that shit all the
Well, they
time.
do it-
Muppet
there's-
Babies.
there's
like-
a-
God!
there's
What if
a,
it's like it's like
there's
a recess themed one, except high school
God.
Yeah,
level.
no, I
There's
totally,
a-
I
Emperor
totally see that
Palpatine's the
happening.
principal. Darth Vader is the vice principal,
Yeah.
who's kind of cool, but he still plays by the rules. You know, he just remembers back to his older years, and then
Because they got to go for that Harry Potter
They're-
demographic, the kids who are still in school, but you got to make school seem cool somehow. I just said the ool a lot, and now it's losing all meaning.
There
in
is
my mouth.
there is a like a children's story / comic like thing that is put out that is similar to that, where it's a father-son, father-daughter book of Darth Vader and little kid Luke, or Darth Vader and
The
little
children's book where it's
Yeah.
like My Daddy Vader.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I've read that.
They're
yeah.
pretty awesome. But
Like they're at the cantina and like
yeah.
Darth Vader pushes like a little glass of milk to baby Luke.
Yeah, yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah. So it's not.
It's a cute kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's not to be taken seriously, obviously.
No.
Yeah, it's
It's
in
just for
jest.
funsies.
It's totally
Yeah.
in jest of everything in Star Wars. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can just look at it like this is playful and fun.
Yeah.
It's not like this
There
is lore.
There's also there is like a Jedi Academy type like kids book too.
Like young
like
adult.
young adult like comic type situation that I've seen. I may have bought one for one of my nephews.
Is this what do you think? Okay, I'm gonna pose this
But
question.
I don't think it was
this is
any of
what-
the like the. It's not any of the like actual characters. It was like specific creations for this book,
Yeah.
but they were like kids in school at the Jedi Academy.
Do you think now?
Jesus, dude.
I don't know what's wrong.
We got to stop soon so you can take.
Yeah.
'cause I-
Do you think
There's
now
nothing
that
to take care of.
Disney
It's
is
not
trying
your
to
place,
Yeah,
though.
it is.
Disney's trying to do you think now Disney is trying to ostracize its older fans by killing off these characters and like
No.
trying to pave the way for these new fans by making things more kid friendly, more geared towards kids and
Here's my
Partially.
answer to that. Yeah, partially, because what they're doing is they're not trying to ostracize, they are trying to pave, but by doing that, they are ostracizing a little bit because they're paying more attention to the new stuff than the old stuff, and I think some fans are upset about that.
Yep.
The fans that are upset about it have the kids that they will introduce to it, but they wouldn't introduce it to them. It's like lose here.
It's
You got these fans that are diehard and they want to show their kids, but they're like, I don't want to show my kids this crap. I just want to show them the old stuff and have them look at that. But then they're going to be like, I want more of it. So they're going to go and look for themselves.
It's going to put them in the exact shoes that those fans are in.
And the kids are going to be like, this was better when it was, not what it is now.
Or vice versa.
Or there's a very good chance that
there's a lot of people there's a lot of kids who prefer the new stuff.
Yeah, growing up with today's sensibilities, they just see like the effects and everything in the old one. This is like, it's like us when we were growing up. Did you really want to sit down and watch a black and white movie because you knew it would be a better film, or did you want to watch Rockadoodle for the 13th time because it was going to be fun and energetic and like cool animation? You know what I mean?
That's all I had
And I mean,
available to me was black and white films. So.
And I mean that kind of gives the argument about the rose-colored glasses of remembering movies you watched as a kid, because.
But do you think that's in Disney's, like, what their plan is now? Like, do you think they're thinking this way, where they're like,
Disney realizes there's more money in future generations than there is in the past generation.
That I can only see because of toy distribution, getting toys.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's always been a Star Wars thing.
Also, well,
it has been, but
it's
like
just a general.
The media itself and the lore behind it is what gravitates people towards it.
Yeah.
They have to make a compelling narrative for me to be like enthralled in the whole universe of it to make me buy the toy.
Right.
This is not a franchise that they can like. It's not like King Kong or something where you can just make a new version in every 10 or 5 years or whatever. It's something that you have to kind of tell one continuous story no matter how shit that gets, because I don't think it's been compelling either. But they are like, just because of the nature of what this beast is, like, I'm a part of this conversation, like, do you think Disney, as part of their deal, bought the rights to be able to say, like, we're going to put out the original cut of the first trilogy movies,
they won't until they get the rights from the 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, like this is all just hypothetical speak, but like they realistically they probably don't really even have any thoughts about re-releasing that stuff yet, because they're more concentrated on the future
moving forward.
And like, how can we really create something that will resonate with young people the way that it did with the first generation, or with the people that grew up with the first stuff liking that, because they want to try and put that lightning back in the bottle and sell it to
a
us.
new story. Then you don't have to continue the one.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, the fight and like all this shit.
That's why they did the transition though. Too. It's just they're trying to get as many as they can from that old one by transitioning the old into the new.
But what they're doing with this is doing it completely ass backwards by alienating everybody that loved the originals, and then at the same time gearing it for the future by killing off the originals. You should just leave the originals with the prequels by themselves, and that's George's idea. Branch off. Don't borrow the universe. Don't borrow the characters, because you're just going to kill them off, and that would alienate everybody that liked them before.
Disney, they realize they're going to get a surge of money if they include those original characters.
That's their only draw, but then they still kill them off, which still is catch-22.
Because they know they're not going to be able to keep them around for another 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
They can keep those other people around for 20 years if they wanted to.
That alienation only applies to people over the age of probably 30. Anybody below that, and especially below, like, I'd say probably even the age of 18, they don't have that investment in the original trilogies. I mean, like, the earliest one that they saw was, like, the prequels, you know? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, like, you got to think about it as, like, I feel, when we were kids, that was still, I mean, it wasn't, like, new, but it was, like, recent enough that it was, like, oh, man, this is, like,
things like the VHS releases and stuff like that.
More so just, like, the mindset that you have. So, I mean, like, with these new trilogies, these kids don't have this sense of alienation. They don't have it because they might be old enough for the prequels being something that they've seen.
And the only toys we have.
So there's no alienation that's going to happen for them. They're just like, they only know
new characters.
These three and then the new set. And it's like, the gap in between, if they want to fill it, they certainly can go back and watch them. But their first exposure probably was that trilogy or this one, not the original one.
This whole conversation and all these feelings that we're expressing right now could very well just be growing pains, because think about it, we've not really, besides comic books, what they do is they more just refresh their narratives, where they'll like either be a new version of the same character, or a different version of a different character or something, where like Star Wars is the first franchise that in pop culture we've ever really had a handing of the torch of like, this is continuing and here you guys go, we're giving you like, we're transitioning from what has come now to what we're trying to build for the future. So who's to say that with this third one in the new trilogy, it might not start leading towards what we're more used to, and then when the next one, now that the transition's over, they can start from the ground up and be like, okay, here's stuff that is appealing to the new people, but also captures exactly what we wanted to do with the new trilogy and what the old trilogy represented. You know what I mean? Because like, this is the transition period, and we're going through like the new series, the new movies, the standalone stuff. This is the first big push. Like when we realized that Star Wars were coming back, we were like, fucking cool, more Star Wars. But now we're realizing like more of what that means.
It's
and
getting
now,
to be
like
oversaturation and no new stories that are really compelling to me.
Yeah,
kind of
like,
catch me.
When we have, if you're looking at like a line graph of Star Wars content and time, it goes up and then down and then kind of middles out for a while with everything, and then when Force Awakens starts back up, it peaks again, and then it's going to come back down and it's going to middle out. So once we're out of the varying and we've evened out a little bit, it could be like we could look at the new trilogy and be like,
once
yes.
Disney figures out what exactly they're gonna fucking do.
Yeah.
I will be perfectly honest though, and I mean this is definitely just me speaking, but I would be okay if they just stopped making Star Wars altogether. It's run its course. It's been able to survive 40 years?
With just like the original
any,
series.
That's better than any other series like sans Lord of the Rings, but that's transitioning from book, back in the turn of the century to
then,
the Hobbit animated, and then like
Lord of the
Rings trilogy. But I'm just saying, when
those movies came out, it was just like, oh, this is a fucking thing. But now,
this is this is life support at this point. This is Twilight.
It's nowhere near where it used to be. In, like,
Twilight plus in this case, if they're going for another trilogy after this one. I just think using that just because of, like you said, like we discussed, the generational differences of like trying to find this source material and adjusting it to be applicable.
Right.
I mean,
they're trying to figure out how much content a younger generation wants too, because it's like with the quote unquote ADD generation.
Exactly.
I want content constantly, but they're like, how much of that content is so like, do we do all this? And then like, oh shit, maybe this is failing, so maybe pull back a little bit.
What I would like to see, honestly, is a first age Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah.
Transitioning from space opera to mid-high fantasy like that. Mm-hmm. I just feel like just because that's my preference is
you got that TV show,
fantasy and things like that.
Shit, yeah. Like,
do they have a TV show?
Lord of the Rings TV show?
Yeah. Amazon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. It's gonna be.
But I mean, the main
biggest
thing is
budget.
But that's my preference for it. But
right.
It's definitely one of those scenarios where it's also a similar kind of source content that's probably past its prime.
And just because it's Disney, if they can make a cent off of it, they're not going to stop producing stuff.
No.
But I think it would, in a perfect world, it would be wise for somebody to take a step back and like take a look at how profitable it is. Because it's not really doing gangbusters.
We should get to this decree more in depth on the so-called fans declaring a separation from, I don't even know the logistics of it, but do you guys have it written down, or
what?
Like the whole breakdown of
version?
Why they're doing what they're doing?
Honestly, like
they want to get Kathleen Kennedy out of there.
It's not angry nerds.
It's not worth like going through and reading it. Like,
but they got a certain amount of significant people signing it, right?
I don't know.
So wait, this is just like a fan declaration of
abstaining.
Declaration of Independence from.
Yep, that literally is what it is.
Declaration of abstention from Star
From
Wars.
Star Wars. I can respect that, because I mean.
But for me, I just see it as just a bunch
But they
of
have
angry
demands
kids
too
getting
within
rid
it.
Yeah, no, they.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get. If you have
like I
demands,
said,
that's not gonna.
That's a
happen.
hostage
If it was
situation.
just,
Yeah.
I think what they could probably
I
get
feel like
more,
something's owed to them when it's
right.
not.
If you're expecting something in return, I would say a different way to approach that, probably getting better results, would be, we are no longer supporting this. Here's the reasons why.
If those people pitched in their money,
They didn't
they
even
try
need
to lay
to
it
say
out
it
that
though.
way.
They could have
Well,
just never gone to the movie.
I mean,
They try and
there's-
lay it out that way.
But Disney's not going to see that as direct feedback. They're just going to see a dip in ticket prices, and they're going to be like, "Well, we got to refresh the brand,"
Right.
But having actual dialogue, and this is
they're not gonna
this is a
respond
Hail
to it.
Mary, because this is a Hail Mary scenario,
Yeah.
because they're not drinking the golden calf milk because they don't like the taste,
Right.
but they're selling
Disney's
it like
response is
crazy.
probably going to be like, "Tough. This isn't for you."
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that cow's not going to stop making milk just because you don't like the milk. Like,
Yeah.
and I totally understand both perspectives here.
Yeah.
Like, the way that they went about presenting their information is it's detrimental to them,
Right.
Because they're trying to present it in a way of like, here, this is formal and this is what we're trying to do about it, but the wording and with what the message actually says, like,
Strong
You're just-
odor of nerd rage.
you're just whining. You're just
I
whining.
want
So
I want you
either-
just to write or read off, if you can find it. Just read off the first intro sentence to the declaration.
It's so badly.
I just want to
Is
know
it just-
how they start.
Is it just immediately on the
We
left
the
foot?
people. Is it we the
Don't-
people?
Please don't tell me they actually started it with that.
It's very much in that language where they tried to write it as if it was a momentous, profound statement to this massive party and this entity that would stand the test of time and shout out to the unheard fans across the world as something to jump onto and to join the.
I think Eric got it. There he has it.
that's
It's
stupid.
like, seriously, it's fucking embarrassing, and all they can do is get over it, because Disney's not going to respond to this in any way with what they want,
They'll just reference box office numbers.
and they're not
it.
even going to really listen. They're not going to care, because those fans can just get over it, because they're sitting there unable to deal with their feelings of being disappointed and just saying, you know what, it's okay to be disappointed sometimes, and
Bracho's
moving
gotta
on
giggle.
with their lives.
He's gonna burst. Okay.
Yeah,
We got to get
fucking-
this
Yeah.
Bracho
Come
out
on,
of Bracho
come on
before
up and-
the demon in his asshole
image of this
flies
too,
away.
because it's like
No, it's
Give me radio.
it's done up, like,
jeez, like an actual
Yeah.
this.
It
declaration.
has like
and it's
parchment.
the very first line. We, the fans of Star Wars,
Oh, okay. So
do this day send forth this declaration to the president of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and to all people in the world to make clear to all the purposes and goals of this rebellion.
Oh, my
It reads kind of like a
my
manifesto.
declaration.
rebellion?
I had recently
Yeah.
moved, so I
Let me
think
see
my
this. I
declaration
don't-
got missed in the mail. Yeah, I didn't get one. Did you guys get one?
No,
Nope.
it reads
Okay.
like a nerd manifesto.
So
Trying to be a serious
That
declaration.
doesn't sound
of rebellion.
vindictive at
It's
all.
probably in
Out
your
of the-
junk email or
Oh,
something.
probably. You know what? I gotta make sure that's approved.
The
'cause that is
person-
definitely not spam.
the person that wrote this is fucking retarded, because there are
God.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be gentle about it. Like, when in the stuff he just wrote off, I'm gonna read a partial quote here. And to all people in the world, to make clear all the purposes and goals of this rebellion. Purposes and goals are capitalized as if these are proper nouns that they are representing, like,
And rebellions.
yeah, like,
Oh, dude, you remember that rebellion?
the
in Star
formatting on
Wars?
this
We're like,
makes
we're
it-
like,
it's
did they think they were clever in writing that? They're like, yeah, they're subconsciously gonna think Disney's the empire.
no, I
God.
these
Well,
people
they're trying to frame that
That's true.
that the CEO as like this.
Oh, there's a-
shadowy like.
There's a bunch
top
of memes
the-
about that. Yeah. Where they're portrayed in that light.
Honestly, I'm done. I don't care what happens anymore. I'm done. I might still see some of these movies just because I like watching movies and I like being entertained. But
I
like
That's the basis of
my
every
feelings
media
of,
is to entertain.
my feelings of Star Wars now has gone from something that like was being kept alive and I was interested in what they were doing with it just because I really liked the originals, and I just wanted to see what was happening with a franchise I liked, and now I have decided that I just like the originals, and that's where my feelings end. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to get invested. I'm just going to like what I like and be okay with the rest of the world.
I can't remember the last movie series, trilogy or otherwise, however many, 1, 2, source material, whatever, that I've been very invested in. I've seen in the last like many years the movie going experience, whether actually at the theater, seeing it on Netflix, seeing it on, whatever format, as a way to entertain myself. And I mean, that's what I got out of most of the new movies. Like, obviously, from a movie standpoint, The Last Jedi, I have some gripes of it as far as like, just having that attachment to the source material. But I mean, it's hard to complain that it wasn't entertaining.
Mm-hmm. That's what it says.
Regardless of how you want to make the argument, and this is still like my favorite scene from the movie, when the Mon Calamari cruiser or whatever went to hyperspace, and like that's one of the most visually impressive things I've seen in a very long time. Like all those individual ships splintering like that, and like the sound cutting out. That was a cool scene.
Yeah, they did.
It was really cool.
He took artistic liberty with doing that, and then kind of fooling the public, being like, "Wait,
did the sound go out?" Yeah, like a lot of people were like, "Wait, what?" And then all of a sudden you hear.
Yeah, just kind of like when that explosion went off in the prequels where Obi-Wan's being chased by Jango, and then he puts up those seismic charges in order to, like, has the blast radius out, and you hear the aftershock of "Pyong," like in space, which is bizarre, but
or like I know
space battles wouldn't be cool if they had no sound like they would be in real life.
I know that recently George Lucas kind of came out and talked more about like what his plans would have been for the next trilogy.
Yep, and JJ had an outline or a treatment at least that Ryan redacted too.
The Lucas stuff sounds at least interesting. Like I'm glad to know that he actually like put enough thought into some of the stuff that he did in the prequels. Where
you got one or two things from that you can spout on, like his ideas.
Yeah. Like one of them, the big one for the new trilogy would be learning that the midichlorians are actually like living creatures. They're microscopic creatures. But they don't like we would have learned
part
that
of the living force.
Yeah, like
which was what Qui-Gon was trying to commune with people.
The midichlorians and the force itself, like as a
they speak
as an
through
energy
the force through the midichlorians.
The midichlorians actually aren't good, and anybody that uses the force is intrinsically tied to something that is actually kind of bad. And they've been the one, like the midichlorians have been the ones, like. They would have had to gone
so the dark side pulling on it more heavily. The midichlorians affect them.
No, not even dark side and light side. Like these things are just intrinsically, they have their own purposes, and everything that the Force has been doing with the prophecies and all this has been the midichlorians like pushing towards their goals. And we would have learned that like, oh shit, this thing that connects us to the Force is actually like been controlling us this whole time and kind of working us against each other. And they would have gone down microscopically and entered like the midichlorian world, and it would have been like an inner space sort of aspect to it, where they would have like fought these microscopic kind of creatures and like
Star Wars crossover.
Kind like yeah, that those ideas are interesting, and I'm glad that like it's something that was sort of just a throwaway line in the prequels actually got enough thought where we could have gone further and been like, oh shit, well there's more to it, and there's more stuff to explore, and it would have changed like, I guess even Emperor Palpatine is a little bit redeemable now because he wasn't so in control of his actions. Like none of us really are. Even Yoda isn't as great as we thought he was because he was just
introducing more of the gray into
it. Like he was more of a puppet than just a physical puppet on set. Like he's being controlled by the midichlorians. They're influencing everybody to do this one stuff and get the galaxy how they want it.
They find out like the more conspiracy nut versions of both sides who have like just these outrageous theories about the midichlorians. Turns out they're right the whole time, and that's how they find the bonding.
That would have been cool
between light and dark.
Yeah. I could get behind that. The crackpot character who's just like walking around with crumpled blueprints, and he's got the glasses that are askew and frayed hair, and he's trying to get people to listen to him. They won't listen to him. Then
like the Milo from.
Yeah, and like he breaks into one place and like they're talking about shit, and he's just like, well, actually, I've got this right here, and they're like,
oh, maybe he's actually onto something.
It turns out it's actually Jar Jar Binks that bridges the gap. We do it like super zoom in on somebody's blood and to see the midichlorians, and all just little Jar Jar faces like, Misa control the universe.
To me, the gradual graying of the Force is much more interesting than the continued like diametrically opposed light and dark.
Right.
Where there's more truth to be found in the gray than there is on either side.
Yeah, walk the gray line. Don't walk the cult line.
Best Jedi has been grays, man.
Well, and it leads to more interesting themes and like it gives more what's the word I'm looking for? It gives these characters more power in the choices they make because they're not following the light side or the dark side.
There's more depth to their actual like background.
Yeah, it gives them like a weight to their decisions where somebody who is an antagonist character could do something really good, or somebody who's the protagonist could just straight up murder somebody, but for a greater good. Like it could give these people more weight and more like.
You can have all these themes, even the themes that they had in the original series, be translated somehow into the new Disney movies anyway. Like you can borrow the exact same beat by beat playthrough of the original series or the original saga, keep those their own isolated movies, telling the story of the rise and fall of Darth Vader, and then jump those themes further into the future, tell the same story about the rise and fall of somebody else, but maybe flip it on its head where it's like he starts bad and becomes good, like that whole thing, but he dies for something when he becomes good.
Here's an analogy for you. Like the original trilogy is like all the cosmic bits and pieces that came together and created the Earth. Like that is super interesting, that process of the Earth being created. But then what happens when the Earth is created and all the time that goes by and the species that develop on there, and like, so what if they ended up going for a story where it's like, okay, here was light side versus dark side, Empire versus Rebellion. That's all settled out now. Here's what comes from the aftermath of that. Like totally new battles, totally new characters and viewpoints that they're coming from. Like
getting untangled from the politics side of Star Wars would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, that always weighs it down, is the politics of it and the military side. Like, there's cool shit that they do with it, but just I don't know, it weighs it down. There's so much that can be explored other than this is our opposing beliefs and we're in a war over it.
They're really just trying to like ground it at least into some more. They're really like doing it for the layman, I think, just to kind of like get the overall structure. I mean, a lot of people, might not dig even that far into it. They're just like watching it like, oh, good side, bad side, Yeah. But people that maybe go a little bit like one step further are like, okay,
they have motivations now when you do
they
that.
see some motivations, and then it's like, okay, I'm not going to dig into it any further. But I mean, those motivations might be, the tropiest things ever, like bad big guy getting fought by the small good guy. Yeah. And I mean, you could break that down any way you want.
You know what I really want? I want a droid movie. I want a movie about a droid in a droid's world with droid problems.
Did they do that in cartoon show droids?
There's no politics.
Yeah, it was called BattleBots.
There's no prophecies, nothing like that. It's just like
live day by day.
This droid's gotta
Just going about his droid.
Yep, gotta
it's all about
get his duties done.
It's Wally.
Yeah. He's gonna make a Star Wars version of
Wally suddenly becomes a droid car and starts rolling around everywhere.
A perfect little short before one of their next movies, like tell little mini stories, like Pixar does, like tell little little shorts,
little vignettes.
Can be
it's
about
only a matter of time
anything at all.
Before there's Pixar Star Wars shorts.
Pixar vignettes are so good.
They are.
They're really good. Man, I love them.
Oh, Jerry's Game.
Yes, best of all time.
Weirdly enough, you're talking about the midichlorians.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have watched Star Trek Discovery, right?
Nope.
No,
don't care.
I've seen like maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
Weirdly enough, they have like this weird plot of like this like algae they find, which somehow is like it sort of like harmonizes with the concept of like midichlorians. It's like this underlying energy that like cascades through the universe and other dimensions. Evidently,
Right.
It's a weird.
It's
It takes a
choice.
hard left turn from like what it starts out as.
Science
it's like,
fiction to
it's
science
like
fantasy.
Klingon War, and then suddenly it's like alternate dimensions, and then they're like trying to cram like 7 seasons worth of Star Trek stuff into
Abrams
one,
really
one or
fucked
two.
that up.
I like.
It's more.
I liked it
it's
more for the very base entertainment factor. I have a very shallow palate when it comes to enjoying. I'll be the first one to admit it. Is my entertainment value quota is like the depth of a thimble. If it's space opera or space anything themed like that, I'm just like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, there's definitely
But I blame a lot of that on fucking Roberto.
Yeah,
Orsi?
yeah. Or
And
see, I
Alex
think.
Kurtzman.
Yeah.
People who actually like wrote those movies.
Yeah.
And one of them is one of the ones that's in charge
But
of the series.
so the midichlorians were one thing. Do you have like another one that kind of stood out from Lucas's ideas?
That was really it. Like that was going to be the major theme, is like exploring that
I mean,
whole
you could
idea
go
between
a lot of places
the
with that, though.
yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
It's interesting.
And that would have been the theme for all 3 of these movies, like finding out what the midichlorians are, finding out that they have a purpose, and then the third one is probably, resolving that somehow.
They ruled it out because they like smashed the extended universe, but does that kid like, hoovering up the broom seem like they're trying to do like a weird play on the Jedi Prince story thing?
They could. I mean,
Tell us about the Jedi
that's just
Prince.
it. Is they never said that like all that stuff isn't gone. They can still use it when they want to.
Oh, really? It just doesn't. It doesn't exist. It's like this pseudo like.
It's not canon unless they acknowledge it as canon.
What Jedi Prince thing are you
Well,
talking about?
legends. They're stories that exist in the universe that people have told.
I might be recounting this very poorly, but there was an admiral that found the glove of like the robotic hand of Darth Vader, and he started the glove, and for some reason that glove was giving him like the ability to use pseudo force powers through like mechanical means, but that's just kind of like the starting plot is like he's like kind of a Thrawn type.
Yeah.
He's like trying to like rally the fragments of the Empire because it's shortly after Return of the Jedi. And the Jedi Prince thing comes into play where it's like this one kid who is literally in a city of droids, and he's being caretook there, and they somehow collide with them, the like Luke and the New Republic at this point are coming to this planet. I can't remember why they do that, but the kid evidently is like off the charts, crazy good with the Force. He's just got zero training whatsoever. He's kind of like Anakin age from like the prequels. So like, but the droids are like, you can't go to the surface because this is like, it's like an underground like city on this like backwaters planet. I can't really remember much else about it because it was a multi-book series. I haven't read past the first one, but that's what I was just wondering is like, where are they going with this kid who has
I'm pretty sure
it means nothing.
I was like, I don't think the character has anything to do with
that
it.
character will probably never show up again.
It's just because the whole movie was The Last Jedi, where she is the last one.
Hope thing.
But it's to show that the Force still exists out there.
And that
I feel like
it's
that they could have done that differently.
Symbolic thing.
They could have done it very differently, but I think he was
going for something really
ethereal,
on
very on the nose, very very easy to understand. Like
but it
gives everybody that sense of hope. Like, hey, hope.
Well, and who's to say that kid doesn't immediately go to the dark side? He doesn't. He passes Jedi, goes straight to dark side. It's like
with his upbringing,
he goes one day from grabbing that broom,
he's getting tased by some to
the day that he decides that he's had enough and just force chokes a dude.
Yeah,
like that character.
Who's to say that broom doesn't turn into a neck?
Yeah,
that's why it's just a symbol.
That, but that's the thing is like they weighted that so heavily by putting it at the end of the movie and making it silhouetted against the background.
Can I just say, I was paying attention that entire movie, and I
completely missed that. Him grabbing the... I saw him sweeping and I saw him grab the broom, but I never saw him like force grab it.
Oh, really?
So that scene had no impact on me. It was just like, why are we... They're telling the story of like Luke and all this, and I get that. Like that thematically, that's cool for me, but
it was subtle because it was like off to the side.
It's like the
what's the
like
film thing of thirds or whatever?
The
Rule of
end
thirds?
of
Yeah. Breaking the
because like
180-degree rule, or
well, the scene was like like it was very off to the left, so it wasn't very like central.
Nope.
I guess.
Well, it's just and when I
frame a shot.
When I heard people talking about that, I was just like, that happened. So I went back and rewatched that part, and it held no other. It like didn't make the scene better. It didn't improve anything. It was just like, oh, okay, well, I got the message without seeing that. So like, I don't.
It's like the
after Luke died, his Force essence spread across the universe and imbued themselves into all these orphans.
They needed a new host.
And they all grow up. They actually like physically change.
They turn into Luke.
An army of
yeah,
Lukes.
one.
It's a play on the Clone Wars. Instead of Django, it's like
his life essence gets spread
little
out
Luke
through,
abominations, just
six of them. Yeah, one little girl gets Luke's arm, so she grows up the rest of her life with a proportionate arm of like Luke Skywalker, and the other one just gets their head. So he's like,
so she's just like dragging it behind, and then suddenly like she like stands still, and she's like force sabering. It's like what's that new movie that the guy had like some implant because he was a quadriplegic and the AI took over his body.
Like that was a upgrade.
Yeah. So like in the trailer,
watch the trailer, you guys.
Watch the trailer.
I didn't even know it existed.
Well, the way that I'm referencing that.
Wait, they made a movie of The Surge.
It's kind of really sweet though.
Really,
like
it's
the action
cool.
scenes are like. They do a good job.
The guy did the choreography was really well because basically what I was getting at was that he's got his like facial kind of expressions like are his own, but his body movements seem so disjointedly not under his control. So I'm thinking like the little girl who's like as like like her
Luke's
arm is just going
possessing.
crazy.
It's like a liquid ocelot possessing, or no. Liquid possessing Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid.
Oh my god!
And he like talks in the British voice and everything.
And the little girls, they're just jamming needles into her neck to keep her energized.
She's out, but the arm's still going.
Yeah, she's sleeping. And the arm's like flipping her around.
Yeah, it just does like spinning her on her.
It sounds
thumb.
like you guys can look forward to
Biggie.
Upgrade on a future reel-to-reel probably because.
You guys haven't seen Upgrade?
No, they haven't seen Upgrade.
No, but I feel like we all should from some of the excitement.
It's a very recent movie.
It's a very recent one, but I think it's cool because also like they had some pretty good shots too. Like
they do a lot of like camera centering on the face, so like it's always like a perfect
tracking
position
of
the track of the framing within that head. So it's like he's fighting and you're just seeing like him fly off the prone position.
When they like rotated it up, like they like stuck it on him, and it was just like.
It's like
and
when
then
you see
like,
the
oh shit! Oh, he's like
camera strap on people when they're like.
Ever see some slapstick humor happening?
It kind of
another
was where he's just like, oh dude, stop! No, oh god, smashing plates on this dude's face.
Another movie in the similar vein, kind of Alita: Battle Angel.
Okay.
What's that?
Don't know if you've seen a trailer for that. It's based on an old manga, and then there was an anime adaptation. Yeah, she has very, very big eyes.
Very big eyes.
They decided to give her anime eyes, but nobody else.
That comes across, it's really visually distinct in the movie, but like it's kind of an Astro Boy-ish story.
Wait, is this the Tim Burton movie?
Nope, that's Big Eyes.
No. I'm thinking of what is that one where it's
not out yet.
The director.
It's
I know.
Rodriguez.
Okay, and there was some issue. There was some issue with the character being like this.
But that's a great pedigree right there. I'm already kind of vested.
Or somebody was basically saying like, "Hey, this is not how real women look," and they had like this whole digression on depictions of women.
I don't give a shit.
The guy's earned his.
No, nobody does. But I'm just saying it's part
my ticket.
But back to Alita: Battle Angel. It's about like this professor kind of person played by Christoph Waltz, who like finds this broken robot. It's like a future kind of story. So he finds this like broken robot in the like laboratory junk place that he runs, and like fixes her back up, and she goes on to fight in this like robot battle arena. But the trailer's really cool because it shows off a little bit of how they're going to be doing the action, and it's really cool in one scene because there's this like I don't know who the actor is. He looks like he's kind of familiar, but there's this other character who's also got like robotic arms, and his stature is much bigger than the main character of Alita. And there's a little scene in the trailer where he like takes some action to take a swing at her, and the way that it's framed and everything, she just quick catches it and then reverses it, where she like puts her arm over his neck and then forces him down like close to the ground. But with the speed that everything moves and how much momentum is shown in this, it's crazy to watch it happen, because it's like, oh, did that just happen? It happened so fast, and it was so impressive. And I'm just really curious what
Really
the rest
mechanical,
Yeah.
how they shot things and how they kind of edited it to make it look like she was doing things in like
super fast.
Yeah, like
super
she,
fast
like
speeds.
it. Everything around them is still, regular speed, but they're just moving so fast, and there's very little like motion blur or effects to it that it's like, whoa, that looks pretty weird.
Yeah, you know what? Biggest culprit of all that like shaky camera versus like probably slow action in real life. Fucking Bourne series. Oh my god,
that was their aesthetic.
I know
It's
it was their aesthetic. They stuck to it, so kudos to them. But in the last one, or like next to last one, whatever one that Matt was still in, I mean, it was just like.
They're on a first name basis. Very good friends, TK and Mr. Damon.
But I
and,
mean,
Paul Greengrass, is that?
but
who
I like
directed
that.
it?
I like.
Didn't they do it? Didn't they do
I
a
like
new one
that
with Damon?
steady shot, fast movement in the
After
shot, because like
Bourne
the
Legacy or
environment
whatever it's
being
called?
the anchor
Mhm.
definitely makes it a
Hawkeye.
lot easier for you to try and track stuff versus like the environment going crazy.
Yeah.
I personally don't.
I went to go see Doctor Strange for the first time,
Oh,
and I was sitting up further in the front.
Yeah.
When they go into that mirror realm,
Mhm.
and they're like,
R.I.P. Steve Ditko.
R.I.P. pretty soon.
it was
Did
like-
you
it was
hear
when-
about that?
when they
Did
were
you hear
cha- it
about
was
his-
when,
what he said. Did you hear any of his quotes?
Doctor Strange and
Well, you probably saw like a
the other
headline
guy.
about the whole.
He they go in after like Mad Mikkelsen's character and the two other people, and then the Ancient shows up. That whole sequence before that, where they're like going on gers and stuff, I was just about vomited.
Oh, yeah, I can-
because I couldn't keep track of where they were going, and I know that was like the whole like concept of it. It was cool, but like I was just like kind of sitting there. and I'm
You're
like,
too close.
too close.
Too
I
close.
mean, realistically, I watched it.
Movie, please.
I watched it in a more better format, and the scene was still just like way too hectic for me. But
So
I like the idea of stable environment, fast movement in it.
check out the trailer for Alita Battle Angel, because it does look pretty fun.
I think I watched it once, but those eyes
So
freaked me the fuck out.
he just said rip Steve Ditko, and I started talking about
Spider-Man.
Stan Lee.
Oh yeah.
Creator of Doctor Strange.
I don't know how. I'll just get into the whole thing. So I saw, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, there was a recent hearing by a judge or something to determine some custody and some kind of stuff with Stan Lee. And from what I read in the article, the decision that the judge reached basically stripped away many of the protections that this man had on his estate and on him as a person. So now people have already for a long while been taking advantage of this man, and now he basically has very few protections left based upon what this judge decided. And Stan Lee was directly quoted as saying, "I just want to go to bed and die." I'm not kidding.
Wow.
So he is like tired and done, and I just
But he's ever since that shit happened, he's got the restraining order, and that guy's been removed from him. The guy that was fucking him over, Kia Morgan. He's been able to get back in contact with his daughter and his brother, which he was alienated from for a long time.
That's
lawsuit,
terrible.
His lawsuit that guy kind of forced, or one of his old lawyers kind of forced him into against his old company that he created, POW Entertainment's dropped now, and they're back working with him. And
he seems like he's just always been the nicest guy.
Nah.
I mean, like
Early on, probably not.
Stan Lee, well,
Later in life,
Later in
possibly.
life.
later in life, I think
later,
probably
later in life,
Sure.
learned his lessons definitely. I'm
Regardless
sure.
of-
but regardless,
Everybody
of
grows.
I'm just like,
But-
this is an old man who's just like, just let him have peace.
and
please.
also the
Like,
fact
I
that
just-
like
It's balancing out.
how long has it been since his wife died? It's
Like
not
a year or two?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not been very long at all. Like that.
That's when the dude really made his move. The dude that was
Well, yeah, because I mean, the guy's
Taking
Yeah,
advantage of
it's
somebody
his-
going through
his,
something
like,
like that.
He had a
of
dude
that age.
He had a caretaker / whatever dude that was with him, and kept him like active and kept him out and doing stuff.
What you
And
need
then
to
after
do
his
at
wife
that age.
died,
I just
that other guy
you see him
like basically convinced him because he was very easily like convinced of things. Got him all fired, and like so basically this one dude who was like for all intents and purposes basically just like a memorabilia collector was controlling Stan Lee essentially.
It's like that when they gaslighted Brian Wilson from Beach Boys.
Yeah.
That was a scary thing too.
Yeah.
just like
They
he
drugged him up and made him do shit.
He's what 98
Is he?
Stan Lee? I thought he was like past 96.
I thought he was like
92.
93,
The
94.
fact of the matter is he's in his 90s.
He's an
And
old man.
A couple
He's very old
years ago at Comic-Con, they were doing a big panel for probably Civil War, and he was there for it. And when he was leaving the stage, Tom Hiddleston like got up and like specifically like helped him down the stairs. Like I want Stanley to do what he wants to do to still be a part of this and have fun, but please let the man just take it easy because we don't need like I saw a photo of him on set for Avengers 4 and there's Robert Downey Jr., Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Holland, and Chris Pratt. There was like one other person in the photo, but it's basically them with Stan Lee like on set. Like I love that, like seeing the creator being with the creations that are now coming to life on the screen. That's really cool. Don't prop him up. Like he's 92 years old. He's gonna sit down immediately after they take that photo. He's gonna have some tea. Just you know.
You're dealing with a really old man.
They see
the
him
worst
as
thing was-
part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as any other character, and I'm sure there's probably some execs that see him strictly as a prop, a way to sell. It's like, oh man, when's Stan Lee going to appear? Like that's where they're like, this will be our selling point.
The worst was for like a convention a few months ago, when that Kia Morgan guy was still involved. Where like Stan was sitting signing autographs for like hours. They didn't cap the line at all. Like they didn't say after this many. They like anybody who bought tickets, like that were able to do it, and it was just
signing
hours
multiple
and hours.
things.
Yep, for hours, like very little break. Like there was times where he'd like
literally a third of his age.
like after hours were like. He was like falling asleep at the table and like they go back behind the curtain and like take a nap for like 20 minutes and come back out and like the guy that was with him, the dude
You
that's
can't
now
bring
he
an
has
old man
restraining
to
order
a
against-
convention with a bunch of sick people.
Yeah.
all the time.
The restraining order against
that con flu is a real thing. Like,
but the guy he has a restraining order against was next to him, like telling him, was like, okay, to whatever from Stan Lee, like he'd show him where and have to tell him what his name was and shit, and like, yeah, for hours, and people were just like, what the fuck is happening? And that eventually, and then like recently, the thing that led to him finally getting away from this guy was him, the guy called 911 with a false emergency after two dudes who used to work as security guards showed up to wanting their paychecks, and he called saying that there were two armed gunmen at Stan Lee's house.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and so eventually, once that happened and he got arrested for the false 911 call, they were able to swoop in, do this restraining order,
no kidding,
and get him away from him.
That's what freaks me out sometimes about like just celebrity. Anybody really is just like
millions of
the
dollars
kinds of
funneled away
shit.
from him, like his blood, like for like certain like some like I don't know, some weird incentive thing that was going to be done, like
have
so
Stanley's
much.
blood.
Yeah, like
oh my
so
god,
much
Right,
stuff,
freak.
just like shitty done to him over the last few years.
Careful. There's a chance you could turn into the Hulk that way.
Yep.
Hey man, if it prolongs
Excelsior.
his life, or at least like I wonder how many times that
Like
that guy got paid for
a
him
part of me
saying Excelsior.
really likes seeing him in the Marvel movies because I'm like, there he is, Stan Lee, cool. But then another part of me is like, don't Stan. It takes me out of the movie, blah blah blah. But like, and I'm glad actually that so far in Cloak and Dagger there has not been a cameo.
Well, he hasn't been in any of the TV shows.
He was in the Runaways. He had a
Actual-
cameo.
actual
What about
him?
Agents
Yeah.
of
So I was gonna
Shield?
say, like, in all those, no,
He hasn't
he's-
been in Agents of Shield once, has he?
No, I don't think
He,
so.
don't
I
think so.
And,
specifically
like,
remember.
the Daredevil ones and stuff like that. He just shows
Defenders,
up as a like on like a
poster or something.
Unless they had a body double and like put his face on digitally, it was Stan Lee because they like
God, if they start doing
in Runaways. It's a Hulu series and they must have some tie-in with Lyft or something like that where every single time one of the main characters is gonna drive anywhere, they're like, "Oh, it's okay, I'll take a Lyft."
You know
Oh
what?
my
And yeah, it's kind of jarring in that
You know
way.
what
But there's
I've
a scene where they're going all to like a prom or a school dance, and they all get in a limo and they drive there. And as they're getting out of the limo, the driver turns around and is like, "Have fun, kids!" And it's Stan Lee. Like I specifically remember being like, "Whoa, this is weird to see him."
That was but like before when he first started doing these cameos back in like the Fox movies and Spider-Man and stuff. It was because they were in movies of characters he created.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And like
that makes sense.
and he wasn't in ones of characters he didn't create.
Mhm.
But now he's just in every single
Everything
one.
because
And
he's synonymous with Marvel to some people. I'm like,
So yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Which was
I feel
weird.
like maybe they should use the Infinity War final snap being like,
just snaps.
sorry,
out of existence.
Stanley's out.
well, yes, no, it's not too late.
No, because Ant-Man went
Yep.
concurrent because
Yep.
that's what the
it was right before.
wait spoilers. You guys have you all seen it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The ending scene where like
Yeah.
okay, I'm sure there's like some like crazy explanation they could have, but how could Ant-Man still, kind of exist down in the quantum realm? I guess it's just like he 50-50 staying around.
Yeah.
Three people that were around him went.
I thought they were going to be like because he was in the
other
quantum
theory, I was gonna
realm
say,
that
the
it
other
was
theory
like
is that since it's another dimension, the power doesn't work there.
You know who got saved because those three died?
who was that?
The Baskin Robbins manager. This is not true. I'm just putting this out there.
Neil
Those three
Hamburger?
had to die, so three had to be saved. Neil Hamburger lived.
Tim Heidecker.
Yeah, let's say Tim Heidecker lived, and who else? Who else?
No,
Who else do I
yeah,
want to
no,
live?
no.
Who else do I want to live?
Ashley
The
Johnson
Russian
from
guy.
the deleted scene
Nope.
of Captain America.
Nope. There's somebody even more inconsequential that I can
Or the
think
Avengers,
of.
the first Avengers.
T.I.
Isn't that-
T.I. is
She's-
alive.
They
Nope.
cut out the extended scene
Nope.
though.
It's gonna
Because, like,
be.
she got,
It's gonna
Kind of
be.
one of those stupid.
I didn't realize it was
didn't
her.
Focus on
It's gonna be the guy
a random person.
in Iron Man
She's
1
actually,
who puts. He's probably already
she's getting
dead.
up there, 'cause
But he's the
she's
one
got
who
a
throws
blind
up the
spot
peace
for
sign.
her.
He's like, "Oh, no gang signs, please."
That guy?
Kid.
The army guy?
Yeah, the army guy with the camera who puts up the peace sign. Like let's see, he got
Um,
saved. Why not?
Sure.
But yeah,
Sure.
and then the other thing with Ant-Man is Wasp brings up time vortexes in the quantum realm, which can be how he helps to save everything.
And
like he somehow uses quantum
Going back in
realm to
time.
like go back in
Because
time.
they've showed
It
they've
could-
showed set photos of like recreations of the Battle of New York and Captain America in his original Avengers costume and an older Tony Stark in a Shield uniform. So like there's
it could
time
work with-
travel. It's either time travel or they also said the barf technologies.
Doctor Strange did not get away.
yeah,
right?
he did.
Yeah, yeah.
So
He did.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that
Tony's
he
the
might
only
have.
one left
yeah.
now.
Well, I thought I guess because they cut out that
Right.
like I've seen million and change scenarios.
Yeah.
Like he saw
14
the
something?
future and he was like, this is the one scenario.
14,605.
Is that actually?
I heard the number like yesterday or something. So yeah,
Okay, wow. I was
It's
like, holy
14
shit.
million something.
605.
But I mean, like, how much of that scenario did he tell Tony? That sort of
None.
thing. So
He
From
didn't
what
tell
from
the
what we
scenario.
know,
He just
None.
knows it's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the
For
only
him
way
to
that
go.
the one chance they have to win, this has to happen.
recently,
right, but I'm seeing like how much of that did he tell Tony?
He did.
none,
Okay,
Just
like
that.
pretty much nothing.
Just that.
Because Thanos
This was
showed
the
up,
way
like,
it has to
right
go.
after that.
Yeah.
Just that Tony knows that these people have to die for him to accomplish the mission at the end.
so that's probably
Recently-
that's
That-
probably
and
the
then that's
reason
why
why
he cryptically said to Tony, "Is like,
This was the only way.
or well, and then the end game begins." Or
Yeah,
whatever the fuck
we're in
it's
the
called.
end game now.
We're in the end game now. Yeah.
Recently, Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch were being interviewed, and
that guy's so bad at keeping secrets.
which he let something else slip. He was because for Tom Holland, they just give him descriptions of like when he was going to be doing the choreography of what he was doing in Infinity War. They just said, okay, you're going to be fighting this really big guy, and these are the moves that you're going to be doing. They didn't tell him it was Thanos. They just said it was a really big guy.
He hardly filmed with anybody.
So
so they couldn't have him chit chatting.
In the interview recently, he was talking.
He seems like a pretty cool
like
guy.
They got asked something about like how they deal with like processing the information that they read in the scripts or something like that. And Tom Holland was saying, yeah, like Benedict has it really easy, or like I guess I have it really easy because Benedict has to say all this stuff. Like some of his lines are like blah 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 quantum realm and like talking about what would be in Avengers 4. And then and Tom Holland's like, and my stuff's just like, yeah, I guess that's cool. So that's probably a big hint that the quantum realm is going to play a major part in what happens with Thanos and all that.
It looked cool too.
They've had him purposely like being leaky with stuff too.
I think they've learned that that's more of a strength now, where they can like
because they played that joke too with revealing the Spider-Man sequel name.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like, oh yeah, I can't really talk about it. I just got the script today. Holds up like his tablet, and there's like the title.
Far From Home, The Adventures of Yellow Dog.
I wish I could come out and see you guys, but I can't. Yeah.
Somebody, when I was leaving the Ant-Man movie, I had actually spoiled it a little bit myself, checking to see how many like post-credit scenes there were.
Not a bad idea.
The second one was not worth the wait, and I'm glad I didn't wait for it because, from the sounds of it, it was just an empty house tracking through, and I mean, obviously that
repurposed footage from the trailer,
right? It fills the void of kind of like setting the environment, like giving more depth to like the other like Infinity War post credits.
Because
this is happening and this is happening.
Like the warning.
The emergency broadcast system is going off. But an ant drumming, fuck you. Like seriously, fuck you.
Again,
trying to make this
ever
like
since Avengers 1
walking prop.
They're like,
being
now we have two post-credit scenes. It's one that matters for the story, and now we have one that's just a comedy one.
Here's a joke.
Yeah,
and we're not going to tell you which one's going to come first.
Ever since they got a positive buzz from Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
I am really excited that there's a very distinct possibility that Avengers 4 will begin with a big time jump, and we might actually see Stature, little Cassie. We might see little,
or just in the time travel.
Just like flashes of. I honestly like with what they did and specifically having her say like, I want to join you, Dad. I want to be one too. Like I want to see little Cassie grow up and be Stature.
Scott's daughter in the comic books, when she gets older, becomes a superhero called Stature. She doesn't need the suit because spending so much time around her dad. She absorbed Pym particles essentially into her.
That's irresponsible parenting. He really is a bad dad.
She has the natural ability of
to grow and shrink.
And she helps to form a team called the Young Avengers, which is really tight.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that would little young awesome. King the Conqueror in the.
I'm excited to see.
That's a fun story.
Wait, is the Captain Marvel one before that?
Before
it takes
what?
place in the 90s. Captain Marvel does.
Okay, so it's like a prequel one, but I mean, is it coming out before Avengers?
Yes.
4? Oh yeah.
It comes out in March.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then
comes out in March.
Cool.
Avengers 4 in like May or something.
Yeah.
And then Far From Home comes out in July.
Yeah, new Spider-Man one. Were they doing another Guardians of the Galaxy?
Didn't they say
Volume 3 they're working on? That's the only that and like
the next Ant-Man movie.
That and the assumption of Black Panther 2 is the only. So Spider-Man 2.
Hard to do that when you don't have a Black Panther.
Well, he's coming back.
They'll find a way.
No, he's never coming back.
No, he's never coming back.
It's no secret that the people they killed off are the people they still have on contract, and the people they didn't kill off are the people whose contracts are up after Avengers 4.
Where's he gonna get the heart-shaped root?
What?
They're all burnt in Black Panther.
He's the last Black Panther.
He has the power.
Right. But I mean, well, I guess that's going into like him, T'Challa specifically coming back. But
he'd come back exactly the same as he was when he left.
Yep.
So it's
anyway, I want it to be the comeback.
We know Spider-Man's coming back because we have Far From Home.
Is switched with the bodies.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Freaky Friday.
The only post Avengers 4 news we know is like the least we've ever known about Marvel stuff going forward. We only know about Far From Home.
Mm.
Far From Home, we know Volume 3 of Guardians is being worked on, and then there's the assumption of Black Panther 2. But there's no
Can't beat Killmonger, man.
There's no other announcements, no other clue as to where Marvel is going, because this effectively is the end of the 10-year long.
And then we're done with Marvel forever.
Can I just say that I'm
Yeah,
actually
funny,
disappointed?
right?
I had forgotten this fact about Black
No, there's gonna
Panther.
be Old Man Logan.
But I'm
Old.
disappointed that they actually killed Claw, because I really, really, really like Andy Serkis as an actor, and I enjoy his performance as Claw. So it's disappointing me that, like, at this point,
love him as
he's
Caesar.
dead, and
He had a
me
great
too.
South African accent
one
too.
one of like two, like only a couple
Is he from South
actual
Africa?
like Black Panther bad guys. Like
Yeah, it was like they killed off Claw, Killmonger. It's like what's left? I don't know specifically.
Not a
So
lot.
just
So,
very short list of
correct-
probably not.
correct me if I'm
very-
wrong,
you can't do M'Baku because they're bros.
Mr.
Yeah, it's a bad guy in the books.
Mr. Database here.
Yeah,
Are we gonna maybe see something new from Venom at Comic-Con?
probably.
Oh,
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I want to see.
I mean, I don't either, but I'm just like,
I hope that
we
ends
haven't
with-
ever.
We're digressing really hard, guys.
The
Should we call this one?
The CG looks.
Yeah.
so
We're
bad.
kind of just going off the rails on our digression.
That's the point of digression session.
We start with Star Wars. We always end up back at comics
I
and
feel like
Marvel.
it
and,
transitioned
It's
into like
Disney.
Yeah, that's true.
That's because Tyler, right now we don't have Game of Thrones to
Star Wars,
hone in on and like other
Disney.
stuff.
if you guys
Star Wars to Disney,
watch
Disney to Marvel,
The Expanse.
Marvel down to where we're at now.
you can digress about that.
yeah. We can hold off on talking more about
I
what's
was gonna
coming.
say the special effects in Venom look like garbage.
Wow, you're so brave. Let's give him a round.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
you
I
are
don't
truly
have a lot of
brave.
balls to
You
say
are
it.
truly brave.
I know.
But I do wish, I hope that there's some sort of carnage action in that.
Woody
Yeah,
Harrelson.
there you go.
Woody Harrelson.
Here's another brave confession. We're done with this podcast,
Yep.
so we'll
Yeah.
see everybody later.